Hey everyone, welcome into Easter Sunday, another edition of After the Buzzers. I'm your host, Chris Sawyer. Tons of stuff going on today. We've got Lee Jones over here, the professor, and we've got one proud Crimson Tide alumni over here on the other side of the screen, Marv Orns. I know we'll be talking about that here soon, but we got a great show for you. We're going to talk about the Final Four. Still got a game going on. We'll talk about the men and women's Final Four, actually. What your thoughts on that are. Going to get into a little Cowboys talk with Dak. It's just his final year. Deion Sanders, speaking of Cowboys, had some interesting comments, so we're going to get into that as well. Thoughts on the new NFL kickoff? I think there'll be a lot of opinions on that one. That just came down. Lakers and Warriors. Is their window closed on the championship? We're going to get into that. Let the guys debate that, and then also we're going to talk about betting. Been a lot of it going on this weekend, but especially in professional sports, is it messing things up? But before we do that, I want to give Marv the floor for just a second before we get into the Final Four.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to send a shout out and prayers and blessings to my friend, former competitor Dale Brown. He's supposed to be on the show, but unfortunately, some things that happened, out of his control within his family. I think we should just take some time to always remember that no day is guaranteed, and that things can change at the drop of a dime. So let's be grateful for what we have, the time that we have here. You know, hold your loved ones, cherish your loved ones, and be thankful for the time. So I just want to give them a shout out. I hope you're well. Sending prayers to your family, and that's all I want to take a moment to do.
Yep, we appreciate that, Marv, and absolutely your sentiments. And want to say we appreciate everybody who views us too. Like and subscribe to us, comment, because Marv's right. Every day is precious, and we're excited every Sunday to be here with you guys and communicating about sports. All right, Marv, I'm going to start with you. We got a game going on right now. I'll be finishing up as we get started here, but give me your thoughts so far on what's happened this weekend. A lot of great games. UConn just blew out Illinois, but the other games were really tight, and the one going on right now is really close.
Yeah, we got NC State right now up 10 on Duke with about 5 minutes to go. So, barring anything crazy, looks like NC State might stay on that miracle run that they got going on. Everything is pretty much status quo. I think maybe the Alabama Clemson game was a little bit of a shocker to some, not to me, of course. Being an Alabama guy, of course, not a shocker to me. But the UConn Illinois game, I did want to kind of touch on that for a second. A 30-0 run is unheard of. I've never seen that before in my life in college basketball. Craziest thing I've ever seen. But I'm a little disappointed in the approach Illinois had. They were in the game in the first half. I don't quite understand the approach to try to go at Klingon. I mean, he's 7'2", man. Like there's not much that you can really do to affect him on the defensive end. And they kept trying to draw fouls on him to get him out of the game, and ultimately it got them out of the game. And then the young man that they had guarding him, I think it's Hawkins. He needed to make some shots to keep Klingon honest. He couldn't do it. He didn't make shots in UConn. That's what they do. They burst, and they're athletically, really, really good. And once they smell blood in the water, they shut the door on Illinois. So Illinois got some pros on that team. Their best scorer didn't really show up. He had a pretty bad game. I don't know if it was UConn or if it was just, at some point it looked like Illinois just kind of quit. So it'll be interesting to see Illinois and Alabama matchup. It's going to be a battle of styles. It's two totally different styles. I think you'll see Alabama approach the game a lot differently. The first 5 minutes of that game is going to be crucial for Bama. I'm a Bama guy, but let's just keep it real. That first 5 minutes is going to be crucial. They got to make shots and keep UConn honest. So interested to see that. Looked like NC State going to pull this one out. And then Purdue, Tennessee couldn't make enough shots. If they had anybody to help connect, they could have had a shot at this game. I still don't know how I feel about Purdue. Edie gets a lot of calls. I watched that game, and it was just, 15 fouls called just for him. That's kind of absurd, too, for somebody that's 7'4". But again, Purdue did what they needed to do. Tennessee couldn't knock down shots when they needed to. Couldn't have somebody outside to connect, knock down shots. So you got Purdue on the other side, and I guess we'll see Purdue and NC State, and we'll see how the Final Four wraps up. But I think it'll be some good games.
Hey, want to thank Gerald Britt. Thanks for liking the show and viewing us. every week. We appreciate it. Hey, Lee, let me start off with UConn with you. They've won 10 consecutive games, I believe, by tournament games by double digits. They've only trailed for like 28 seconds, and they've won 46 consecutive when leading at halftime. Do you think anyone can beat them? Can Purdue match up with them if they get through? Can Alabama match up with them? What are your thoughts there? And then talk about the other games as well.
Yeah. Short answer for your first question is I think no. I don't think. I think it's UConn's a tournament to win. I think offensively, defensively. I mean, that's just a juggernaut right now, and I don't know if anybody can match up. But I will say this about Alabama, and to quote my buddy on the next screen, the way they shoot the ball, they always have a chance. They have a chance. But the problem for me when I look at Bama is on the defensive side, I mean, they just let you score at will. So it's sort of like a double-edged sword when you look at Bama and UConn. It's going to be a high-scoring game. We know that. But can Alabama get some stops and shut them down? The three ball is what Alabama does. I mean, they're gonna shoot the ball. They're gonna up tempo, and so that Alabama UConn game is going to be entertaining if it's not anything. But I don't think anyone can match up with UConn at this point. Illinois, I agree with Marv. I don't know what they were trying to do. I mean, who gets on a 30-0 run? I mean, come on, give me a break. Who's your player on your team that can stop? Who was a run stopper? They just didn't have it, and so that game was just dismal. I love the Alabama game. Alabama showed heart. They came back. They shot the ball extremely well. I mean, it was a 3-point barrage. And so by them shooting the ball that way, and they can shoot it that way, they're always in the game. Edie, Purdue, I look at it like this, Marv. NC State, I don't think they have enough size for Edie. And to your point, it's how the game is officiated is going to matter a lot, right? I just don't think that if Purdue takes their time, run their offense, and do what they did every time down the stretch in this game today, and just pound it into Edie, I think they'll beat NC State. And then I think a UConn NC State, a UConn Purdue matchup is just going to end the same way all of the UConn's games have ended, with UConn winning the national title and cutting down the net. So it's going to be interesting. I think if the Alabama and UConn game is going to be so tremendously exciting, and then you're going to get a slower paced NC State and Purdue game, which that'll go down to the wire. But I think Edie, his size, and the way that Purdue runs their body, they don't turn it over a lot. And when you start to slump down on Edie, they can shoot the three. So it's going to be interesting. But I think UConn all the way winning the national title going forward.
All right, Lee's got UConn. I see Sandra chimed in, Roll Tide, and I probably don't have to ask Marv what he thinks, but I'm going to ask him for his national champion pick anyway.
Well, I gotta correct the professor for a second here on his analysis about Alabama. Defensively, yes, they have struggled most of the year, but the thing that's got them through this tournament ultimately has been defense. They've turned it up against North Carolina. The last 4 minutes of the game, they held them scoreless, and against Clemson, they got timely stops, especially against the PJ Hall kid. And I think defense is ultimately what has helped them and propelled them through this tournament. Not something that we've been used to seeing. And I even said it myself when this tournament started. They can score with anybody. They can outscore anybody, but can they get the stops when they needed them? And up to this point, they have. Now, again, I agree with Lee. Connecticut's going to be a different story. There's a lot of matchup problems for Alabama on that side. I think that you'll see them probably run a 4-out, 1-in with the Nelson kid going up against Klingham, trying to bring him out from the basket. If he can make shots, it'll get interesting, because then that's going to force him to have to get into some of that pick and roll action and make him do some things he's not comfortable with. But if Alabama's not making shots early and they pounded it, because we don't have anyone that can match up with him on the inside. Let's just, I'm going to be 100% honest with that. But if we can make some shots, it'll get interesting. And like Lee said, it's going to be up and down. It's going to be a thoroughbred race. Now, my heart is Bama. I'm going to pick Bama to win. But if the basketball side of me just says that UConn is the best team right now in the country, because they just present so many problems for you offensively and defensively. I mean, they're top 6 in the league, in the country defensively. So they present some problems. But hey, it's a one game. You want a shot as a competitor to have one game to win a national championship or to get to a national championship. That's what Bama's got. So I'm gonna roll the dice. We're gonna see what happens. But UConn is gonna be tough. It's a tough challenge, and I don't think anybody on the other side, Purdue or NC State, regardless of who advances, especially against UConn, stand a chance. I think Purdue will probably wear NC State out. Now, I will say that I see NC State probably putting Edie in some undesirable positions with the DJ on NC State, because it looks like they up 12 right now, kind of trying to close the game out. But they don't have enough size, like Lee said. They just don't have enough size, and Purdue's going to grind them out and probably get to the national championship game, and we'll go from there. It'll be interesting to see Edie and Klingon, whatever his name is, Klingon. It'll be interesting to see those two match up and go at each other for 40 minutes. But ultimately, I think UConn just has too much for everybody here.
Well, what's your final pick, Marv? Come on now. Let's hear. Go on the record now. Go on the record. What is your final game? Who's going to make it? The Final Four is pretty much set. Give us what you're saying. You going around the block.
We're gonna shock the world. It's gonna be Bama and Purdue, and Bama gonna cut the nets, baby. That's what it's gonna be.
Okay. All right, Chris.
You gotta score. You gotta score with us.
Do we drug test on this show? I hope not, because Marv, we have to do it. Look, UConn. I think it's UConn and Purdue. I really do. I think it's UConn and Purdue, and I think UConn cuts down the nets. I mean, I really do. It's just UConn is a different animal. I mean, just a different animal. Those guys, they bring it. The way that team, and they're so much together. They play together so well, offensively and defensively. That's going to be a tough monster to beat. I'm going to enjoy the game though, because to Mars' point, they did get the stops when they needed to. I don't know what North Carolina was doing down the stretch, but that's a whole different story. We can say it was defense. It was, but a little execution issues were there as well. But great win for Alabama. We'll see, but I'm looking forward to that. And the winner of Alabama-UConn is the national champion, in my opinion.
Yeah, and recycle me saying UConn all the way. So we appreciate your comments. Sanders still chiming in on the Tide. But it's going to be interesting. I agree with you guys. I think UConn after the other night was just unstoppable, and I think if they did play Edie, he's not going to be able to hang. They had so many points in the paint, so many fast break points. But as we're talking about that, one thing this year that the men and women have been playing, it's like you could find any game. Sometimes it used to be different days, but they're playing a lot. And there's a lot going on right now. We talked about the women's a couple weeks ago, the men and women's Final Four. Lee, I'll go back to you first. What are you looking forward to? I know we just had a big conversation about the men's Final Four with State. Looks like they're going as well. But when you look at what's happening with the women and where they're getting, what are your thoughts? LSU, Iowa, we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, when we're talking about who I'm more excited to watch at this point, is the women's. I mean, I'll just be honest. I'm very excited. I've set my schedule around watching LSU and Iowa tomorrow, and even the second game with SC and Connecticut. Those are two phenomenal matchups, Elite Eight matchups on the women's side. I think the women's game right now have more stars than the men's game, and we haven't said that in a long time for women's basketball. Caitlin Clark-Reese, you got the Becker's kid, and then you got Juju out in at SC. So the stars are on the women's side this time around. So personally, I'm more excited to see the women's Elite Eight and the women's Final Four than I am the men. The men, it's just not a lot of recognizable stars. Everybody knows Edie. He's so big, 7'4", whatever he is. And true purists for basketball, they know the great players that are on Alabama team and UConn's. But you recognize the name Angel Reese. She's all over social media. You recognize Caitlin Clark, Ice Cube, offering her $5 million to play in the Big Three. Those are household names. Juju, just a superstar in the making out at XC, and Beckers has been clutch for all of her time at UConn. So I'm more excited about the women's game and looking forward to it. And certainly tomorrow is going to be huge. And those two games that are going to be played tomorrow. And I can't wait to see Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark square off.
And do you think, real quick, and Marv, I'll ask you this: with talk about Clark and Reese, but now you've got this issue going on with LSU coach too. With this, was it Washington Post? If that's the correct newspaper doing that, and then it's been edited, all sorts of different stuff. It adds some more dramatics to the game as you're watching it.
Yeah, and I think LSU already looks at themselves as villains, right? Angel Reese came on in a post interview and said that she knows that they're the most hated team in women's college basketball, and I think that they thrive off of that. I think their coach thrives off of it. I think they like that position. I don't think Kim Mulkey pretty much really cares what's been being said about her. That's just who she's been throughout her career, right? So it does add a little bit of interesting side story to the game that's coming up. But the interesting piece to me is I want to see the ratings. I want to see the Iowa LSU ratings if it tops anything that the Final Four will create on the men's side, because I think it may. I think that there's so much interest in watching the two of those play. And Angel Reese coming out saying that they don't hate each other, but I think that they both competitively dislike each other, and as the way it should be. And I think LSU has a chip on their shoulder because they've been counted out this year, and Caitlin is everybody's golden child at this point. And I think LSU has something to prove, so that's going to be must-see TV. But I agree with Lee. I think the women's side is much more interesting. You got more interesting stories. You got better basketball being played. I mean, outside of the Connecticut-Alabama game on the men's side, I think that it's just a really unappealing Final Four. I think you'll get some really good, athletic, shooting, fast-paced, fun to watch against Alabama, Connecticut. And the other side, it's going to look like you're watching basketball from the '60s. I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to get. But yeah, Lee hit it on the head. I mean, you got stories. You got USC trying to stay undefeated with Don Staley. And that juggernaut that they have, we're going to see if there's anybody that can stop them from doing that. Juju, I think, who's probably the best player in college basketball to me, from a pure, just the length and the skill and what she can do. Man, she's gonna be hard to deal with here. So I'm looking forward to the women's Final Four. I'm looking forward to the games tomorrow, and we'll see how it plays out. But I really want to see the ratings. I want to see where that ends up with the LSU. And that could be telling. That could be telling moving forward. Also, with women's basketball, where does it stand?
Yeah, great points on Marv. Great points, because let's say this: whoever wins between Iowa and LSU, facing off against South Carolina, that's another ratings bonanza right there. And so either way it goes, the momentum for the women's game is through the roof. I mean, it is just through the roof. You're going to see Caitlin and Angel battle it out, and then you get the juggernaut South Carolina the next game. And that center, what's her name, Carmosa?
Yeah.
That young lady is tough. She's long,
can't move her,
big. You can't move her, and that's a problem. That no one can move. So if we get a South Carolina LSU rematch, we're gonna love it. If the darling Caitlin, if she's in the finals, we're gonna love it. Marva, I could see. I don't know if it's going to match the final game, because we all tune into those big events, but their numbers are going to be significantly, probably the highest they've ever had for a women's Final Four going into this year's Final Four. So those are excellent points. And I personally, I can't wait to watch both games tomorrow night. I don't know about the Juju better than Caitlin Clark comment, Marv, but I'll have to go with Caitlin, but I don't know about Juju. But
and I never would have said that before either. But Caitlin is seasoned. She's a senior. She's been around. But when I watched Juju and I watched her play the other night, man, I mean, she was doing stuff like the game was just real effortless to her on both ends. Like she's affecting the game on both ends, and she got that dog in her. Like maybe I'm going a little far saying she's better than Caitlin right now, but and the girl from USC, Full Wiley, she's not been on full. she's not getting the minutes that she needs yet because she's a freshman. This is the way that Don does it. But when Don actually lets this girl go, man, watch out, because that Wiley girl on South Carolina is going to be on another level too. So the girls' game is in real good hands over the next few years from a collegiate standpoint. If the WNBA handles it right and starts getting these women paid so they don't got to go overseas, you can see a resurgence in the women's game because you've got some stars coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The WNBA needs, Marv, I just don't know, with all the talent that's coming on, I know we got to move on, Chris, but with all that talent that's coming into the game, it's just a shame where their season runs, to me. It's with so much competition during the summer months and people vacationing and pro football ramping up and college, it's just a shame that because I think in a fall window, because the men play so many games, there's a window for them to play in the fall traditionally that they could hold their own. But I don't think that they really want to do that or want to try that. It's just a traditional basketball season, in my opinion, is better than a fall format when it's so much competition and the buildup for because personally, I watch NBA basketball, but I don't get juiced about it till after the All-Star break. And so that window, there's an opportunity for the women's game if they shorten that season, maybe be finished by January. I think they could make some headway as far as having a winter season for the basketball. I don't know what you think about it, Mark, but that's what I think. I just think the summer hurts the WNBA.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of the listeners are agreeing with you guys on the women's game point right now in the tournament. People saying, they're more excited, like the back-to-back are enforced between the two teams, and I think again that's where it creates some storylines where it gets people like myself who watch it but not casually, but not into it. Where like you guys said, yeah, we're going to be glued to the TV watching it and see what happens. That's a good point. Hey, want to remind everybody. Thanks for listening to After the Buzzers, watching us. Like and subscribe to us. And we appreciate we're here on ISF Productions. We're going to move on, and I'm going to go to Lee again because Marv kind of set it up at the beginning of the show. Dak Prescott, been a lot of talk about him. Is this his final year? He's in his final year right now. What are they going to do? I mean, there's been a lot of talk. And McCarthy might be on the hot seat. Then they're talking about Zeke possibly coming back for a reunion. Lee, I know I normally go to Marv here, but I want you to set the tone on what you think, what you think's going on here with Dak this year, and what's it going to take for him to have more years in Dallas.
Well, first and foremost, guys, you know, a lot of times you look at these shows and they just make it so dramatic, so helter-skelter, so gloom and doom. Don't worry about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott will be Dallas quarterback for the next 5 years. Trust me on that. Trust me on that. What they're doing with Dak right now, you know, you got the salary cap relief. They reduced his hit to around $55 million this year. Before they may even get it done before training camp. But don't worry about Dak Prescott and signing long-term with Dallas. That's a done deal. People just, they go overboard with it. They go overboard with it. That every move Jerry Jones makes, everybody gets the big eyes, it bulks up because Jerry's a showman. He likes to put this stuff out in the air. And so don't worry about Dak Prescott staying in Dallas. There's no way possible that Dallas will move off of Dak Prescott. He was second in the MVP voting. He's legitimately in the top 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And why would you ever think about moving on from that? And then what are you going to go to? It's certainly not Trey Lance, and it's certainly not any other quarterback that's coming out. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Gerald Britt asked, was Ezekiel Elliott coming back? I think it would be a great move to bring Zeke back because what Dallas missed last year was a physical thumper, especially on the goal line. And when they have a lead, they need to run the football. Now, you're not going to get 40 and 45 and 50-yard runs out of Zeke anymore like he did prior to that knee injury, but you don't need that. You rarely see 40 and 50-yard runs consistently from any back this in the NFL now. It's running back by committee. It's Dallas bringing Zeke back, drafting a young back in the draft and making it roll. So I don't worry about Dallas. Dallas is going to be fine. Another 12-win season for us this year. Building the defense. And the last thing I want to say before I let my counterpart talk, because he's going to come in with all this foolishness. Remember this. A lot of people are talking about Dallas and not doing a lot in free agency. Chris, you know these names. Demarion Overshown. You know Travion Diggs. You know, Mozzie Smith, who they drafted last year, right? These are their free agents, right? You got to sign Dak Prescott back. You got to sign CeeDee Lamb, and you got to sign Micah Parsons. Those three guys right there are better than any free agents that was on the market for the Dallas Cowboys. So don't worry about that stuff. Dallas needs to continue to rebuild the defense. You'll see them go offensive line in the draft, running back, and defensive tackle, and we'll be all right. So I'm not worried about Dallas. Those who think that this is the last year for Dak Prescott in Dallas, that's foolish. And you heard it from me first, and then I'll let my buddy over here talk because I know he got some foolishness to say.
We'll let Marv go, but I do want to highlight Recycle Me made a point that we've talked about, Lee, and Marv may talk about this when he talks about Dak, but saying Dallas should have never let Zeke go.
Absolutely.
But that's something we could talk about at a later time. But I agree with him. But Marv,
absolutely,
this is why we do this show, because I know he's going to come hard at you, Lee.
You know what? I've come hard at him about this before, and he's stuck on Dak, right? And I got to give him credit for being such a staunch Dak Prescott supporter. Like I get it. I get that there's nothing better out there, but what you've gotten is the best of Dak Prescott. You got 9 seasons with him. Going on, this is season 9, if I'm not mistaken, right? Going on season 9, in 2021, 4 years, $160 million. Made him the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL behind Patrick Mahomes. So what seems to be important to Dallas Cowboy fans, and especially because I think you're the voice for him, because you always tell him not to worry because everything is going to be all right. So what seems to be important to Cowboys fans is saying that we've got 3 consecutive 12-win seasons, because that's really all you've gotten from 4 years, 160. Now you're saying that they're going to get this contract rectified before the season starts. I'm going to say that they don't. I'm going to say that he's going to play this season without a new contract, because let's be realistic. Dak has to. I mean, he's got to sign for more than $50 million a year, right? He's got to be $50 to $60 million, considering what Lamar Jackson got. So it's okay to you to have. It's better to have 3 consecutive 12-win seasons than 1 playoff win and going 1-9. Because to me, the whole idea of this is, especially for America's team, especially for the Cowboys, especially for you're better than everybody else. The whole idea is to win games that matter. So what I'm hearing is that doesn't even really matter anymore. Dak's gonna get his money because what we've seen from Dax is the max. Like you've seen what you're gonna get from Dak Prescott. You've seen exactly who he is over 8 NFL seasons. Now you're acting like in season 9, all of a sudden it's gonna hit. All of a sudden we're gonna get a different Dak. All of a sudden he's gonna be worth the money that we paid him. You got 1 playoff win to count for all the money that you spent. Now you got to take care of CeeDee Lamb. Now you got to take care of Micah Parsons, and let's not even talk about Micah, how he fades at the end of seasons. I mean, that's probably another conversation for another day, right?
Ridiculous.
It can be ridiculous, but the facts don't lie, right? Like stats don't lie. The stats say that you've won 1 playoff game, you're 1-9, right? That's factual. That's not fallacy.
Dak is 2-5 in the playoffs. But let me say this, Marv. I don't want to cut you off, but this is, you said we've gotten all that we can out of Dak Prescott. What we've gotten out of him is an MVP type season. What are you talking about?
He didn't win the MVP. So again, now we know where the conversation goes. That's enough for you.
No, it's not enough.
Every time I talk to Cowboy fans, that's all you say is Dak is an MVP caliber quarterback. Dak is this, Dak is that. That's the only thing I get from you. I don't hear anything about championships. I don't hear anything about expecting to win playoff games. I don't hear anything about being outplayed by Brock Purdy and Jordan Love and all the things that go on. And I don't hear nothing about that. I hear we got 3 years of 12 wins, and we got an MVP caliber quarterback. That's what I hear. And that's all that matters to you, and I'm okay with that. Because we'll be talking about the same stuff next year.
I got to respond. Let me say this.
Hold on.
Let me say this.
Wait,
go ahead, Chris.
Hold on, Lee.
Go ahead.
No, put this in your response, because Recycle Me says Dak is whacked. The Cowboys won't even make the NFC Championship till 2060. So,
Recycle Me. I think you need to stick to basketball. I like your basketball comments, but it seems like football you're a little lacking. But we're gonna be all right. Keep the comments coming. Let me say this. Dak Prescott has done everything that he can to win football games. Marv, the team didn't win, but Dak Prescott did not lose. Dak Prescott did not lose the game against Green Bay. He made a couple of errors, but he threw for 403 yards.
But it didn't matter.
They scored 32 points. The problem was that the defense didn't come to play. So all of this, but let me throw out some names for you. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. Why don't we talk about these guys? They don't have Super Bowls. They don't have Super Bowls. They don't have wins. But we're fixated on that. I understand why, humbly, because we are America's team and everybody loves the Cowboys. I get that. But let's be realistic, Marv. You know as well as I do. He was number 2 of all quarterbacks in the league last year, and you want to throw that away for what? Give me a break.
I don't want to throw it away. But let's stop acting like Dak is the answer. Let's just be realistic about this and say that Dak has maxed his potential at this point, and he was the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And you know who the first was? Patrick Mahomes. And you know what we watch Patrick Mahomes do every year? Do more with less. He does it every year, right? So what we now know is that Dak Prescott needs more to win. He can't do more with less like the highest paid quarterback in the league. He has to have more to be able to win football games. And if you re-sign him and if he gets 50 to 60 million, I don't know where you're going to get more from. What you're going to get is an MVP caliber quarterback that wins you 9 to 10 games a season, and you'll be on here again talking about he's one of the best 2 quarterbacks, and you'll still be sitting with 1 playoff win.
Well, trust me on this. Like I told you, I happen to know Dallas personnel probably better than most. I'm not worried about the defense. I like how they're overhauling the team. The players that Dallas lost, hey, those were not significant losses. A lot of people think they were because they just heard names. There's a replacement for everyone already on the team that Dallas had to replace those players. And it's ridiculous to say Dak Prescott has maxed out his career. He's 31 years old.
We got 8 years of evidence, Lee. We got 8 years of evidence. And the evidence is no Super Bowl appearances and 1 playoff win. That's the evidence.
Have 8 years of winning 74% of his football games. That's what you have. 8 years of it. I love it.
He can win football games. He can win games that don't matter. Congratulations, you get a prize. But he can't win anything that matters because he's got 1 playoff win, and we all know that. And then you want to bring up
all we can talk about is Patrick Mahomes. But what other quarterback has won? Brady and Mahomes. That's all it's been. So we're in the same boat as
talking about the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. We're talking about the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Same boat.
I think you're a Steelers fan, Marv.
I am a Steelers fan.
Yeah, but you don't never say anything about the Steelers. And I know, Chris, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but
don't move the goalpost right now. Don't move the goalpost. You're real good at this. You're trying to move the goalpost.
I'm not.
Chris, I know you're a Cowboys fan.
Look, Dak Prescott, the question was, is this the last year? Absolutely not. And that anybody that thinks that way just don't understand what's going on. Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys, they're fine. And for Marv to say, or anybody to say he's maxed out, well, I tell you what, his maxing out is pretty damn good because he was second in the MVP voting. He's won over 74% of his games. And if you had a quarterback, any of these other Rudy Pootsari quarterbacks that are out there doing what Dak's done, the team would be satisfied. Dallas has to rebuild their defense.
I
That's what we got to
love
do.
how he leaves. I love how he leaves off the lack of playoff wins and the games that matter, and how
For,
bad he's been, how awful he has been in playoff football
he
games.
hasn't been
No,
awful, Mark.
he
He's made some
Chris,
mistakes, but he hasn't been awful.
Chris, let me ask you, Chris, because I know you're a Cowboys fan, or Lee. Are you both okay? Because he's gonna be looking for 4 years again, right? I mean, that's just logically how it's gonna work. Are you both okay paying Dak Prescott for the next 4 years, 50 to 60 plus to be your quarterback, 50 to 60 plus million to be your quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years
Well,
moving forward?
first,
Because
I'm
that's
going
what
to
it's
say
gonna take.
I don't know if you guys are seeing, but the comments are going crazy on this comment and this topic, and I'm telling you, a lot of people are agreeing with Marv a little bit. Some like Dak, but he's not good enough to win in Dallas. Dallas needs to win. I mean, I'm trying to sum up everything, but for me, Marv, I like Dak. I've always liked Dak. I liked the way he came back from his that one 2 seasons ago, all the interceptions he threw. But I will say, and this is where I differ with Lee. I'm hesitant to say that we can win because they do every year disappoint me. And Lee knows because every year I'm texting him. He's trying to talk me off the ledge. I get very upset about it. But I understand where Lee's coming with. But right now, I don't have the faith that it's going to happen. Now, I agree with Lee. He's going to be in Dallas. Jerry's going to keep him. He's going to sign him. I mean, I agree on that part. But I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of every year them letting me down, and then I don't care anymore about the NFL playoffs, and I get tired of it.
Yeah. To Tracy Johnson, thank you for your comments. You know what you're talking about, a true football fan, by the way. Let me say this to you, Chris. Football is a team sport. Football is a team sport. Everybody executes their thing. What happened to Dallas this year, and Chris, I was telling you this all season long about their defense. They were light in the behind in their secondary and their linebackers, their back three. They were light. They were playing safeties at linebacker, and they got ran over. That was not Dak Prescott's fault. And anybody that I feel, if you're a football historian and you understand where I'm coming from, you will say that it's Dallas needs to improve their defense. But when they lose, it's Dak's fault. Dak's fault. Look, Dak Prescott is top 5 in the league. You don't throw away a top 5 quarterback. But the answer, see, Marv is very slick with his stuff. He says, do we want to pay him $50 to $60 million? But Buffalo's paying Josh Allen $50 to $60 million. Baltimore is paying Lamar Jackson $50 to $60 million. Trevor
Two
Lawrence is going to get $50
MVPs.
to
Two
$60 million.
MVPs.
So, what? They haven't won anything, so we don't pay Dak Prescott? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
You got 8 years of data on Dak Prescott. I
Yeah.
know. Everybody out there that's listening, see, this is what happens when you're part of a fan base that hasn't won anything of significance in so long. You become very delusional about what your future looks like, and you become at all these diversion tactics and moving the goalposts about what's really being asked here. And the question is Dak Prescott really worth the money that they're going to have to pay him to be quarterback for the next 4 years? The data tells you that he's as good as getting you 12 wins a season, and that's about it. He'll get you no playoff wins. He'll get you nothing better than that. Maybe he is a great guy. Maybe he is a great, person in the community, but that doesn't make a great quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. Do I think he's good enough to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback and get you where you ultimately think that you should be, considering you hadn't won an NFL title since, what was it, 1995? I mean, considering that, maybe this is just where you are. You guys just stuck in this. You look at yourself and you 260 pounds, but you look at yourself in the mirror and you think you 160. Nah, I mean, you 260. Be honest with yourself. Let's start being honest with ourselves, Dallas fans. Like, Dallas is not the person to get you to where you need. I mean, Prescott's not the person to get you where you need to be. One playoff win. That's all I got to say. We need to move on.
We're going to take a journey. We're going to take a journey very soon, and we're going to see the end results. And I really can't wait. And, guys, I want y'all to take the journey with us because I'm a huge Dak Prescott fan. And, guys, I tell it like it is. I love my buddy, though, because he has that passion I love. I can't wait till the season starts. I know we have to move on, Chris. Thanks for all the comments, by the way, people. I love it.
Yeah, thank you for all the comments. It's great. Keep them coming, too. It's a very interactive show today. We're going to stay on the NFL a little bit, and it kind of involves Dallas. Deion Sanders. saying that Shedeur and Travis Hunter, there are certain cities they're not going to play in. He mentioned playing in Atlanta, Dallas, Washington, Baltimore. I believe he said he didn't want Shedeur playing in the cold. It's kind of like an Eli John Elway situation. What do you guys think about that? Should Deion be saying that? Because right now, what I'm looking at, I mean, Deion's doing the talking for him. Shedeur, I don't have to say a thing. His coach and dad is doing it. Same with Travis. But Marv, being a former college athlete, what do you think about that?
Man, it's tough. Like I'm okay with Deion saying what he want to say because Deion has earned the right to say it, right? Like, he's a Hall of Famer. He's been an NFL analyst. He's been around the game for 40 years, like he said. So if anybody has a right to say it, I think it's Deion Sanders. So I'm okay with him saying it. I don't know if his son is up to being what he wants him to be or thinks he should be. That's the only question that I have. I don't think anybody has Shedeur as a consensus #1 overall pick at this point. Like, I don't think nobody has him on the big board as that. The good thing that he has going in his favor is the fact that he plays in a trash Big 12 conference next year. So maybe he could put up the numbers that'll put him there. But nobody, I mean, I don't see any NFL draft board that has him a consensus. I mean, if you looked at him going down the stretch last year, the last 6 games, he was awful. I know we're gonna talk about. I know we're gonna talk. Well, he was. I know we're gonna talk about the fact that he didn't have no offensive line and they didn't have this and they didn't have. Well, that's your daddy fault because your daddy thinks that he can create a team from the transfer portal just like he's trying to do this year and thinks that he's gonna create a juggernaut. No, it's not gonna happen. Okay, just not gonna happen that way. He got 7 high school recruits right now in this recruiting class. That's the issue. But moving on, I think Travis Hunter is probably the better talent than Shedeur. To be quite honest, to say that both of them are going to go top 5, I think Travis may, absolutely, but Shedeur, the verdict is still out on that. So here's the other part of it. This has only happened like once in the last 4 decades, right? I think it was or twice. So maybe it was Eli and the other was John Elway, but and Elway had a lot of leverage, right? Elway, he was like, he can just go play baseball, which I think is what he was when he got drafted. What he was going to do was just go play baseball. He had leverage behind that.
By the Yankees. He was
drafted by the Yankees. Eli, even though he wasn't Peyton, his brother had just came off an MVP season. We all know that the Mannings are NFL royalty. I mean, he had that leverage, right? And I don't know if Shedeur is in that stratosphere like an Andrew Luck was. When Andrew Luck maybe could have done that when he came out, but I don't see him in the stratosphere to be able to say that he can dictate where he wants to go. That's just my honest opinion. You don't see many players being able to do this. You might have this one-off every 5-6 years where a player can maybe do this, but I don't think Shedeur is the one.
Marv, I have a question for you. You're an SEC guy. You've watched Eli over the years when he was at Ole Miss. Does Shedeur have better talent right now? And when we compare them in college, is his talent better than Eli Manning's coming out?
No.
Oh my God. Okay.
Why would you? Shedeur's competition has been average at best. Okay.
His competition was average. The Pac-12 was better, in my opinion, than the SEC last year.
Okay, so with you saying that, Lee, what happened? Well,
I mean,
if the Pac-12 was better, which you can say they were, what happened? Well, so now Shedeur gets a pass because it's the offense. Because football is a team sport.
Shedeur threw for 3,600 yards. 28 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. His talent level coming out of college is better than Eli Manning's when he came out.
So if you want Dak Prescott 2.0, draft Shedeur Sanders.
Let me help everybody out there because Marv, let me say this. Couple things. Now, on the fact that should Deion be saying this, I think it's the wrong time, Chris, to be saying it. I think timing matters, right? The season hasn't started. I think you wait until sometime into the season to maybe make those comments, but that's okay. I just think that's not a good look right now. But there's no doubt about it that Shedeur Sanders is the top quarterback coming back next year. He has all of the weapons. Offensively, Colorado's going to be a juggernaut. They've rebuilt the offensive line.
You said that last year.
No, I did. Last year they didn't have. They brought in some. Look, they were trash. They won one game the year before. They brought in some players. They got the 4 wins. This year they brought in studs that can now play and protect Shedeur. And look, Shedeur Sanders completed 73% of his passes last year. He only threw 3 interceptions. Thank you, Recycle Me. Please lay off the weed, Marv, because that's ridiculous. Shedeur Sanders, both he and Travis Hunter will have the opportunity to do exactly what Deion says. And let me ask you this, Marv. And let me say this. Deion Sanders has just as much cachet as the Mannings had when Eli came out. So for Deion to pull that move, he has the juice to do it for his kids, and they both have the talent to do it. And I do think Shedeur and Travis Hunter will be in the top 5 of the NFL draft next year. So do I think he should have done it? Not now, but I do think he's going to have the players to do it, and their situation can warrant him, depending on where they want to go and depending on who has to draft, to sort of finagle where he wants to play next year. I don't see anything wrong with it. I personally don't.
Cash is just make sure we keep this real in archive. Make sure we archive this, brother.
Keep it all. I need
to make sure that this conversation, we revisit this conversation. Now, the only thing that I'll say that I agree with is that he'll have an opportunity because, like I said, the Big 12 is trash. So he'll have an opportunity to put up big numbers because everybody's good left the Big 12. So if he doesn't have a stellar season, then that's going to prove my point even further. I think Travis Hunter is really the only top 5 talent in this conversation. Travis is a bad boy, and I Shedeur's arm strength is questionable. We all know that. I'm never going to doubt his processing ability. He processes at a high level, absolutely. But to say that he's the consensus number 1 quarterback coming out of come on, man. Stop.
If you really look at it, he's the best one coming back. Let me ask you this, Marv. Is he better than Milroe?
Milroe took his team to the college football playoffs last year.
Milroe is trash. Let's be honest. Now, I like Milroe, but Milroe won't sniff the NFL. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's not, Marv. We're
gonna put a pin in this conversation. We know you a hater.
I'm not a hater. I call it like I said.
Yeah, hater all things.
Milroe does not have the qualities that Shedeur Sanders has as far as the next level. Marv, that.
Winning football games? Because Shedeur didn't win any football game. Oh, that's right. That's right. His daddy didn't put enough talent. That's right. His daddy didn't put enough talent around him for him to be able to win games, right?
Look,
just like Dallas don't put enough talent around Dak to win football games.
I like Milroe. I love his story. But you and everybody that's listening know that's not an NFL quarterback when you see it. Let's be honest with that. And when you look at Shedeur Sanders, you see NFL oozing out of this guy. And Chris, to your point, I don't think Deion's talking for him because Shedeur is just as confident as Deion. He has that same swagger that Deion has. Remember this, right? Remember that. And you're going to see a lot of that next year when you see Colorado playing in the college football playoff.
Lost their last 6 games, and we sitting here talking about him like he the next up and coming. But okay.
Yeah. All right, Chris. I know we got to move on.
No, we're gonna get you back on track again. Great comments from everybody coming in. I'll just say this: the original question. I know we got off on a tangent, but it was great. I will say the one thing that I thought Lee said was spot on was it's too early for Deion to be talking right now. I think I agree with Marv. I think you got to see what he does, what they do. I mean, again, Travis, yes. Shedeur, see what they do in the Big 12. I'm a Big 12 guy, but I tend to agree with Marv a little bit because, my Cincinnati Bearcats go in there and we're terrible, and we used to be good. So who knows? But let's move on. Again, you're watching After the Buzzers here on ISF Productions. Again, thanks, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe and get notified every time we're on the air. All right. Next topic here, guys. Thoughts on the new NFL kickoff. Been a lot of, there's been not a lot of run backs, tons of touchbacks, they've done data on a lot of teams. How over the years it's just declined. And now they've got this new system up, or like kicking team can't even move. Is that what it is now until it hits the zone or they catch it?
Yeah.
Marv, I'll start with you, Marv. Do you think it helps the game or it's just kind of strange?
I mean, from an injury standpoint, it does. You know, they did studies that said that 3 to 5 times higher rates on kickoff return for being concussed than any other type of offensive play. So from an injury perspective, and this is what they're kind of trying to do, especially with the hip drop as well. You know, they're trying to
Yeah.
lessen some of the injuries. So I from that perspective, I think it's good. And also, if you watch the XFL when they used to do this, I think it added a little bit more unpredictability to football, you know, in terms of where they get it, you know, how it happens. You're going to see a lot of more offensive linemen and skill players playing special teams now because of the way that you can kind of line up and set this up. So I actually think it's going to be good for the NFL. I think it's going to be weird because people haven't seen it, but I loved it when I saw it. I thought it added a lot of unpredictability to where they got the football. You know, you have some people starting at the 35. You can be starting between the 12 and the 20. It really is going to depend. So I actually like this rule. You know, I poo-poo the NFL about a lot of things, but this one I actually kind of like.
Yeah, the kickoff I think is going to bring a lot of excitement back to the NFL. I think what will happen is you'll see more speedsters being drafted in the draft this year. That the return men, they want people that can move because once it hits that zone, you can't move till it hits that zone. So you'll get people now, and then the blocking. It's like you're blocking on the line. So if you got a shifty person that can run, I'm thinking about Kavontae Turpin for the Cowboys. He's going to have some excellent returns for the Cowboys coming in next year with this new rule. I think it's going to be great for the game. I just think it's going to be tremendous for the game. Mark, check him out. You know what I'm talking about.
You know,
It's going to be
Steelers
great
had
for the
signed.
game.
You know, Steelers signed Cordell Patterson just the other day because of
Yeah,
this.
Patterson's 150 years old though, but the Turpin's
Yeah.
going to be fine. Now the hip drop, I think the hip drop. There was a lot of talk about the hip drop tackle. Look, man, you know, in today's NFL, they're going to take out anything that's going to they're going to take it out of the game if it's hurting their star players. And the hip drop is hurting star players. People are getting injured. And so they're going to take that out of the game because literally the NFL is about the stars and scoring. And they could care less about defense in today's NFL. So they take the hip drop out because they want stars to play. It is a dangerous play. It's not, you know, people have played for 50 years tackling that way, but it is a dangerous play in modern football. So they're going to take that out of the game. And so you'll see the players adjust to it. It's a 15-yard penalty, a fine, or whatever the case may be. But I think they're made the game really more exciting, and they're going to get what they want, more points, and that's the goal of it. I just want to go back to some of these comments. Ms. Keaton, yes, thank you, Ms. Keaton, talking about if the Mannings can do it, Deion can do it with his kids. Come on, Marv. Recycle me. Shedeur a Brady understudy. I like that. And I like the swagger comment from Miss Keaton. But the NFL they want to make it exciting and they want to score points. And that's what they're doing with these rule changes. And whoever doesn't like it, they just don't like it because that's the way the NFL thinks. And the ratings are up. You know, and mainly because, you know, Dallas is on, you know, 5 or 6 times of some of the most highest played games. I think they used the Cowboys. They kind of pimped the Cowboys a little bit because they want us to save the league, but that's okay too. But the ratings are up and they want to score points. So I think these new rules do just that, Chris. They make you score more points, and that's good for the NFL product.
Yeah, and Tanika said in there that it, you know, like you said, Lee, takes away from the injury. You know, Norma, good point, Marv. I mean, again, I agree with you guys. It's going to change the game a little bit. I just looked at something while you guys were talking. I looked at the Buffalo Bills. They only returned a kickoff this year 17 times for like 349 yards, and it was one of the lowest in franchise history. I mean, these kickers are kicking it into the thing. But you're right. They're still blocking and hitting each other even when that ball is going, you know, going out of the end zone. So I do think it makes a great, interesting rule change. And Marv, you're right about what you would say the XFL. I think it was the way they did things. But Lee, it will give Turpin, you know, not to bring up Cowboy Homer like Lee was just saying, but it will allow Turpin because that was one of the things we signed him for, and it'll give him an opportunity to do some things. But it'll give a lot of kick returners an opportunity to make some yards and possibly score some points on that. So
Uh,
I agree with
I,
both. I agree with both of you.
I mean, Chris, let Cowboys fans say it. Turpin is the next up and coming Devin Hester. So
Well,
I guess that's what we got coming from Cowboys fans.
tremendous returner. I can say that. The other thing with that rule, Chris, if they kick it into the end zone, it comes out to the 30 now. That's another
Yeah.
adjustment. So
Yeah,
again, they want to put the kickoff back into professional football. It's going to look different. You're going to have to get used to it, but it's going to be a more exciting play. The moving the kickoff and changing the kickoff route. So I like it. I think it's going to benefit the league.
and real quick, Chris, before you move on, I was
Yeah.
looking at the rule. They didn't take out the hip drop tackle. They took out the swivel portion of it. Like when you swivel to get a player down to the ground, that's the part that they're taking out of the game. And now I read something today that the rules committee is also looking at replays and how replays can come into effect in judging this tackle, right? Because we
That would be
know.
good. That would be
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So I think that'll be great for the NFL if they do that. You're able to go back because in the game and in live action, that's a hard thing to determine, right? But if you can go back and do the replay, determine if a guy's going to get fouled, suspended, or whatever, I think that'll be a good piece to it too. So we'll see how it
Yeah.
goes.
Good point, Mark. Good point. Good point.
Yeah. All right. Let's the Lakers and Warriors. We're going to switch over to the NBA real quick here before we go to our last topic. Lakers and Warriors. One of the question is there a window, for a championship closing? Some people say the Lakers have closed a while ago. The Warriors have started to close, but what, Lee? I'll start with you. I know you and I talk about the Lakers a lot. Where do you see this going? There's questions. Will LeBron stay a Laker as well? A lot of different things going out there. But where do you see these two teams? And do you see one of them that has better opportunity, better shot at still winning another championship?
Look, it might be hard for both of them to even make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them are down in the play-in area. You never know what happens in a one-game scenario similar to the NCAA. And so it may be hard for both of them to even make the playoffs. So to ask if their window is closing, yeah. I mean, you might, as my mom used to say, you might get a little draft in there, but that window is getting pretty close to being shut. Look, the Lakers are up and down. One week they're playing well, the other week they're struggling. Defensively they're up and down, and whereas LeBron is still the king. LeBron is still a great player, but every time I see the Lakers without LeBron, I'm like, damn, they're playing well. Damn, they're moving the ball. It's just crazy to me. And so I think there's some internal stuff going on there as well, not from an argument perspective, but from how our players play on the court, togetherness perspective. I think it's more ball movement when he's out sometimes. And so I think the Lakers, depending on their first round matchup, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. The Warriors are a small team. They're a small team. And if they get Denver, they're done. I mean, they're just done. I mean, they get Denver, they're done, right? If they get, I'm gonna tell you nothing. If they get the Pelicans, they're done, right? It's like the Warriors again. They're up and down, and I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. Draymond, he can't keep his cool. He's always popping off. So to me, if you ask me if either the Lakers or the Warriors can win the championship this year, my answer is hell no. Neither one of them will make a championship run this year. And so I think it's rebuild mode. You still have stars there, but I'm telling you, Chris, you and Marv all season long, but y'all were beating me up last year and kept beating me up. If they'd have went on and got Kyrie with the Lakers, then they would have been in the upper echelon like I tried. My buddy over here said that was foolish, but hey, who am I? I didn't play the game. He did. So, he hates on Kyrie all the time anyway. So, but anyway, my answer is yes, it's closing.
Yeah, and you got Tanikia. She's in line with you, and she lives with the Lakers fan. Recycle Me says he hopes Houston catches them and gets that spot. Marv, Lee mentioned you are our basketball guy. Do you agree with Lee? Have a different perspective on that, or what are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree with them in the grand scheme of things. And I'm gonna quote Miss Sandra Keaton. I've heard her say this once: "If it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk." If that's all I hear from Lakers fans and Warriors fans. Look. the Warriors have no depth. Think about when the Warriors won championships, right? They had a lot of depth. They had Sean Livingston, David West, Andre Iguodala. We can go down the list of guys who made major contributions that helped them win championships. And you also had a healthy Klay Thompson who was elite on both ends of the floor. Remember that. He was just as deadly spot up shooter as Steph. Nobody's the greatest Steph. It's not blasphemy to say that, but he was a great spot up shooter, but he was elite on the other end of the floor. He's a shell of himself these days. You don't know what you're going to get from Klay at this point. So they have no depth. They have a worn out Klay Thompson. They have a Draymond that looks really disinterested in really playing basketball anymore. I think he'd rather be doing the stuff that we're doing right now. So yeah, the window is closed for Golden State. For LA, same thing. Your best player right now, you want to be Anthony Davis, but he's had a pretty good year. Look, Street Clothes has had a pretty good year this year. He's came back and done some things that he hasn't been doing in a while. But the Lakers have no perimeter defense. They have no real depth. And again, when you're relying on a 39-year-old to be the pillar of your franchise and the leader, I mean, that's just a tall ask. So, I don't see them being able to get out of the West at all. Golden State. So yes, the window is closed for both of those franchises. It's over with. They need to reset because depth wins championships in the NBA. It does. And neither one of them have it. And elite defenders on the perimeter, especially in the modern NBA today, win you championships. And neither one of them have it. So yeah, the window's closed. It's done.
Hey, every once in a while we can get you two to agree on something. So
Wait, they would have been in the same position if they had Kyrie. They still would have had no depth.
There it goes.
Kyrie can outscore everybody, but they would have been in the same position.
That's ridiculous.
And Kyrie would have been blowing incense on the sideline. So it would have been the same thing.
Whatever he blowing right now, he got the Mavericks, as I said, positioned to go deep in the playoffs.
You said they was going to win the championship.
I said they were going to represent the West in the championship. Absolutely.
There you go, Chris. Giving them goalposts. That boy blew those goalposts.
I thought I had it. All right, hey guys, we're going to end on this one. It's been a great show again. Thank you everybody for watching After the Buzzers and commenting here on ISF Productions. Legal sports betting. Is it hurting the professional sports industry? And I'll throw this in there too. I'm going to start with Lee. Also, one of the comments about people that agree it is you've seen a lot of things that have happened in the past, when it wasn't legal, but even they're saying some of the lower paid players, there still could be some opportunities for them to do some of those illegal things. And with all these sites out there, I mean, you can bet on anything these days. And I've been watching it go on right now during the tournament, NCAA men's tournament. But what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think it's a good thing now that it's legal in a lot of states, or do you think it does hurt sports? And the players still can't participate even if they wanted to. That's a rule, but that's not going to prevent them from doing it if there are some people that might do it.
Yeah, I think it's hurt. I think it's hurt all professional sports, to be honest with you. I think what happens is, when you look at a game now, and you have suspect officiating, and we know officials are going to miss some calls. I officiate, so I understand that. But anytime you have that, that's the first thought that comes in your mind about the sports betting aspect of it. And so I think it hurts professional sports. I think it puts a cloud over professional sports. But yeah, as you see, all of these different entities, they're in bed with the sport, with gambling. And so it's never going to change. But it also puts the players in an envious position because people are going to approach them all the time. You hear the stories about how people are threatening coaches in the NBA. They're threatening players. They're trying to get players to shave a point here because all of these parlay bets and all these minor bets, millions and millions of people are placing these bets. And it's just a terrible thing because you have young kids and some of them that will never play in the NBA that may be getting involved in some illegal stuff in college basketball. And then you have NFL players that are getting banned from the league, getting banned from the league because they're placing a bet outside of the facility on the facility grounds, and that's illegal. So it's just not, in my opinion, good for professional sports in general. I don't think it's going to change because I think all of the major sports now are in bed with gambling and DraftKings and all these different entities. But it's certainly not a good thing for professional sports, for any other professional sports. And then all it does is open up a lot of areas to scrutinize the leagues and open it up for players to be enticed to do certain things that are not legal. So, no, I'm not for it at all. I'm not for it at all.
Marv?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
about
Just to wrap up here, because I know we running quick on time here, but Lee made, I mean, a great point. But I had looked something up in a study done in October 2022. 70 billion. This was 2022. 70 billion in tax revenue from legal gambling with the
Yeah.
state and local governments. Right,
Yeah.
with the industry employing more than 1 million people. All right,
Yeah.
so we already know the answer. Like there is no integrity when it comes to professional sports or sports anymore. We had Temple with recently with an issue. We had the Houston Rockets player. We have Otani. We're not going to get into all that, but this is what's going on. The the NFL owners allowed physical sports books in stadiums. Like that's happening right now. You got live prop bets going on during NBA games. Like this is if they didn't want gambling, then they would ban it. Period. Meaning owners and meaning sports leagues. They would. This is what they want. So this is the route that it's going. But NFL players and NBA players have been complaining about this for years, from a social media aspect, how they are harassed and how they are, their families are harassed about fantasy football and them not playing or not making the whatever the case may be. So this is part of professional sports now. There is no integrity with this, and NFL owners want it, NBA owners want it, the sports leagues want it, and that's just the way it is right now.
Yeah. I mean, great point, Tanikia. Players have always been enticed, but now more than ever. I mean, now more than ever, it's just out of control. And so, yeah, and I didn't know those numbers, Mark. That puts it in perspective right there. It just puts it in perspective. It's not going to change. So great. Hey, Duke went down. So we got the teams that we thought we were going to have in there, and it's wild. I'm excited about Alabama UConn though. That's the game. I'll be tuned in there, thinking about the SEC people. We'll see how they go on Saturday, but is the legacy going to continue? But we'll see. And hey guys, thank you. ISF Production. We love it. Our guy behind the scenes, Cassius, do a phenomenal job. You see all the production, so we thank him. And Chris, I'll turn it back over to you, brother.
No, great points, Lee. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking when we talk next Sunday, talking to Marv about Alabama. So we'll have the two first games done as we get ready for the national championship. And then we'll talk about the women's too and all the other topics. Thank you, everyone, again, for all your comments. And don't ever hesitate to put something down that you might want us to talk about, because as you can see, these two guys next to me love to go back and forth. So whatever you want to talk about, we want to talk about. Again, as Lee said, ISF Productions, Cassius, thanks so much. Hey guys, another Sunday in the book. Happy Easter to everybody out there as well. For Lee Jones, the professor, as I call him, for our Hall of Famer, Marvin Orange, I'm Chris Sawyer. We'll see you next Sunday.